Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Sebrite Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now. With over 35 years in business, top shelf customer service, and innovative commercial insurance solutions, here's what our commercial trucking community says about Sebrite.
I haven't had a claim as of yet, but I would rate them at a 5 just based on customer service. How nice everyone is when I call with questions. Robbie.
I am glad I made the switch. I saved roughly $450. A huge difference. Saving big with Sebrite. Darlene.
I have nothing but great things to say. Incredible answering my questions, helping me set up my policy, making sure everything is correct. Super friendly. Anthony.
If you're a Swift transportation contractor, Contractor's Corner Consulting Group and Sebrite have a special rate just for you. When you call, mention you are a Swift contractor and you are interested in the Contractor's Corner deal to save and keep more of your money in your pocket. Not a Swift contractor? No problem. Mention Contractor's Corner and let us show you the savings.
We asked the Sebrite team to help us help contractors save and keep more money. What they came up with exceeded by far what we thought was possible.
Call now to see what you can save. Sebrite Agency, 800-366-6466.
I just like that music. Chris the trucker agrees. He's like, yeah. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, July 4th, 2023. Woo! Sorry if that blew your ears out. I apologize for that. I'm sorry. Oh, we're here. It is, like I said, July 4th. And look, we're here. But you know why? Because it's a Tuesday. And look, there's Jeff making weird faces. And because he wasn't expecting me to throw him up right there. That was awesome. Big Dog Trucker was the first one today. Came in at 2:28 p.m. Just going to throw it out there. Bear Hunter's here. Howdy, Bear Hunter. Matt Nissen. Good to see you, sir. Jonah Green, Chris the trucker, like I said. Glad you guys are all here. Michael Ford. Oh my Lord, he said aloha from Honolulu. Michael Ford.
You know what, man?
Yeah, we're gonna have to ban that guy right there,
man.
Freaking Honolulu, whatever, man.
Probably actually been to Hawaii like once or twice.
I was there when I was
Army stuff. For Army stuff.
Stayed at Rainbow Towers.
Yeah.
It was like a thing. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was cool when I was 5.
Got cut.
Fire alarm go off.
I got cut by Quirrell on the knuckle of my big toe on my right foot.
I thought you were going to say something else. I'm not going to lie. My brain went to a dark place and it was making me very uncomfortable, sir. So, you know what? We're going to dive right into this fuel surcharge thing because I'd like to get to Tony Dennis because the man just came out of the fields working out there. And so let me do this fuel surcharge thing real quick and let's make this happen. Yeah. Yeah. Where's the little button I'm supposed to hit? There it is. I see the button. Wow. So the national diesel fuel cost average went down 0.034 to 3.767. West Coast PAD5 diesel fuel cost average went down 0.003 to $4.412 per gallon out there in those western states. That's going to bring our that's going to bring our fuel surcharge down to 0.411 cents per loaded mile on the Swift standard OTR van schedule C. Wow. That was a lot. I almost lost myself where I was going there. That's a change of 0.007. Man, I love it. That number comes up a lot in this thing, 007. I don't know why, but I love that number. But our West Coast fuel surcharge is up to 10 cents, 9 cents last week because of that disparity between PAD5 and the national is 0.645 cents per gallon. So we're done with that. I'll put it in the little ticker on the bottom, and we're going to jump back into actually talking to smarter people than Jeff and I. And we have with us.
And
oh,
you skipped a part, Charlie. We talked about this.
what?
And for those of you that are not Swift drivers, remember,
Right.
if you're contracted to a carrier and you have a Swift surcharge, you can still use the data that we're giving you and look at your contract to figure out what it is.
Hopefully, it's
Check
based
up on
that.
those. Check up on those guys.
There's people like CRST that I don't understand because like every load they do is a different surcharge.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I'm like, okay, negotiate everyone. That's a bummer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have Tony Dennis with us, fresh out of the field. Tony, good to see you, buddy, or hear you anyhow. We don't see you today.
Yeah, sorry, wrong computer.
That's all good. We're glad to have you either way. So let's see, what do we got going on here?
You know what? We've got a topic just to help all the Swift drivers out there that are with us.
Yes.
We've talked about handling claims and how you have to be involved as an owner operator.
Right.
So on Thursday and Friday, and the lady's putting the graphics on it today, I'll actually send it out. Wakely will send it out to everybody tomorrow. Wakely did a sheet that went out to every insured, and it tells you all the phone numbers and your policy numbers so that you can call in.
Nice.
One of the issues that we have is Gallagher Bassett's probably one of the largest claims payers in the country.
Right.
So if you call in and say you're Swift, they go look at the Swift policy, and guess what? You don't exist.
And that causes an instant delay right off the top because we already had that happen with one of our guys. I mean, that just slammed him and put him backwards. And I think it took them like 3 days
To
or
figure
4
out.
Figure
days.
it out. Yeah.
And they're like, wait, you don't have a policy with Swift? Get out of here. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm a Swift contractor, but I have a Sebrite insurance policy. They're like, oh.
Yeah. So what we did is we whitewashed it, and we called it Contractor's Corner for Influence.
Nice.
So if you just said call in and say I'm with Swift under Contractor's Corner, then they pull you up and they take your claim right on the spot, and you go.
Very cool.
And so we tell you to call Sebrite so that you can report the claim, so that we can help guide you through the process.
Right.
If you don't do that, then you're shooting blind, and you may end up calling the wrong carriers for coverages that they don't handle, which has
Right.
also been an issue.
Yep.
It would have been nice to have a single carrier come in and write all 7 policies.
Right.
But
Perfect
in order,
world.
yeah, but in order to get you the best rates, then we had to put it out to market to get those products. So you don't have Gallagher Bassett, by the way, does pay all the claims. So you'll end up with the same claim adjuster team, but you will, it's different policies. And so what we'd like to do, I think, with this sheet is to help you through the process so that you can track a claim right there on that sheet. Right? So
Right.
it's digital, so you'll be able to, if you had multiple incidents, you'd be able to track each and every incident.
Right.
Right.
Let's
So,
hope that's not the case.
yeah, we hope that's not the case so far. We've had some claims, but I don't think they're larger than what we anticipated. I think
Right.
for the most part, most people have been settled relatively quick. I'd say we have 2 that have lingered,
Right.
and hopefully on tomorrow, Wednesday, the last of that linger will go through. So there's 2 things. They need to hear from you in person. So when you call in for the occupational accident and the physical damage, all handled by Gallagher, you actually have to tell them your statement is for both policies.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, you'll have to call back and make the same statement again.
Oh, Lord.
Right. And so we've had that a couple times. So they'll call up and say specific it's for the physical damage, but you got injured.
Gotcha.
I think
So-
by laying this all out, you guys will be able to read it, call us, we'll walk you through. We'll even dial the phone and connect you to Gallagher Bassett,
Nice.
right?
Right.
So we can help you through the process, which means we're taking time it takes you 20 minutes, a Sebrite rep will be on the phone with you to walk through that entire process.
Nice.
Nice. Okay.
And I think that's needed to speed this up. I think because we're insurance oriented, there's nothing that phases us, whereas you're driver oriented and insurance is the last of your issues until you need it.
Oh yeah, and it's daunting when you get to that point when you're actually filing a claim. Like the one of our lingerers. I mean, he was so fresh in the system when we were going through all this when he had his accident that we didn't have this outline. We weren't quite sure where to go, who to call, and then some of the things got hung up because he sent things to the wrong place, or he thought he was supposed to send something somewhere else. And I mean, it thank God this guy, I don't want to call anyone out by name, but this guy has been pretty damn patient. He's in kind of a tough spot just because, I mean, it was a total wreck and just everything with injuries and the whole 9 yards. And he's struggling, but I mean, for the most part, he's kept a pretty good attitude through all this. He's like, man, I know we're just trying to work through it.
Yeah, he's actually doing fairly well for the injuries.
Cool. Yeah.
And I think I think he's stress related financially and as well as any other.
Right.
When you lose your truck, I mean, he essentially lost his whole world.
Right.
Right. But the truck is resolved. His disability checks have come. Now you got holidays that have slowed it down.
Right. Of course. Why not?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we've had about 30 in the last 2 months, right? Holidays.
Yeah, seems like it. So anyway, to me, I look at this and I think, okay, there's 3 things that came out of this accident. So I think there's a couple things that we should recognize. When you have an accident and you're out of town more than 100 miles, I think that's the radius we ended up with. Swift is not going to bankroll your hotel, your Uber cost. So in this case, we'll just keep using this case because it was
Right.
a mind-altering or mind-opening experience for not only that driver but for us.
Right.
Right.
And so he came out. He was severely injured, taken to the hospital, checked out, and for whatever reason, the state trooper that took him or made him go to the hospital actually went to the hospital and waited for him
Right.
in the waiting room. And when he came out, the officer said, "Where are you going to go?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, I'll get you in a hotel." On a weekend when Taylor Swift,
Right.
Right.
somebody else, there was 3, and I can't remember. Oh, and it was an Atlanta game.
Yep.
3 major things going on. You couldn't get a hotel room. And this state trooper knew that and got him a room. Now, it was at an exorbitant price.
Right.
Right? So, and that's fine. So when he got up in the morning, he had to pay for that room, which was concert high.
Yeah.
Right.
Next morning, he had to find his truck because he was, he had medication that he took, preventative medication.
Right.
He had to get an Uber to get to his truck. His truck was not moving soon. It appeared to be totaled, and it actually was totaled.
Right.
And then he needed to get home. And he was based out of a central state, more than 700 miles away, with no way to get home.
Right.
And so he ended up leasing a truck temporarily, bouncing across the country to get home.
Right.
Once he got home, the doctors sent him directly to his physician, his personal physician, which ended up being 9 days.
Right.
That driving then didn't help him. So in order to fix this for Swift, this is what we've done. And the pricing will be unveiled to me tomorrow. But now if you get in an accident, whether it's personal injury, truck, you're more than 100 miles from home where it's unfeasible to get home or call somebody will come and get you for 60, 80 miles, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you live in Muncie, Indiana, and you have an accident in Indy, somebody from Muncie will come and get you,
Right.
friends or relatives or something. But if you're from Indy and you have an accident in Atlanta, that's not going to happen.
Right.
People aren't going to jump in and drive 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, whatever to get you. They may, and that's very, very nice of them. So what we'll do in the event of an accident is we'll actually pay for your Uber from the hospital to a hotel that we'll book for you. We'll
Very
pay
cool.
for that room and we'll pay for that Uber. So you can physically get out of the thing. In this particular case, the guy didn't even have his wallet with him.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah, he left his debit card with his daughter for prom or something like that, if I remember right.
That's exactly what he did. And he left his wallet in the truck.
Yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, all the bad things that could happen to this poor guy.
Comedy of tragedies.
But he did have his cell phone. So in order to book a room now, if you simply will take a picture of yourself, a selfie, send it to us, we'll book the room for you. When they get there, they'll check your selfie, and then we'll fill out all your information and
Nice.
you get to the room. And so we'll cover you for 1 to 3 days, depending on traffic. You don't know, and then we will get you home based on reasonable transportation, whether it's airfare, bus. If you're out in the east, it's probably a train or tram or something.
Right.
But it will cost you nothing. There's no deductible. We'll take care of the room for you and get you home so you can get to your doctor. And the idea is, if you are injured, is to get you in front of your family doctor,
Right.
so he can get you where you need to be and you can get treated so that your recovery time is minimalized.
Right. Because renting a truck right after a wreck like that with injuries and things like that as your way home is bad. It's just bad all the way around. I mean, you're going to beat yourself up. You're not even sure what all the injuries are yet. You know, you have that rule of 3 days after trauma, right? It seems to be the worst at about day 3 after the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
And I could tell you that with his wreck, you know, the one we're talking about, that was brutal for him. And then he got in a truck and drove for like 7 or 8 days or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, God.
So we want to help, and I think this amendment to the policy as an option. You don't have to pay for it. My guess is, and I haven't been fully told, but the premium is like $12 to $15 a month,
Right.
which is nothing. Your hotel, in this particular guy's case, was over $230, right? Plus the Uber to and from, right? So he went in his wallet and his medication. Then you got to go back and clean out your truck because you're not coming back to the truck totaled. And then you got to get to some way to get home, right? And so we'll give you, you know, a little bit of freedom here with the Uber to get back into your truck, and then get you out,
Right.
and eliminate those costs. There's no reason to have those additional costs when we all know if you have an accident, your truck isn't leaving, somewhere it's staying.
Right.
Right. So even an oil pan, right, Jeff?
Yes.
That was
can
great.
make you stay somewhere that you don't want to.
8 days later.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I will absolutely say. So on the physical damage portion of this entire claims process, from what I was told by this guy and from what I saw, that went phenomenally great.
Yes.
I mean, that was a matter of, I want to say it was somewhere around 14, 16 days or so from the accident to the time that truck was totaled. It was off the books. It was settled up with IEL. I mean, that went amazingly well. You know, I don't want it to sound like doom and gloom over this claims process. I mean, there's been some bumps and we're learning stuff like, you know, Tony and Jeff and I are saying, but the physical, the biggest chunk, you know, which was the damage to the truck. I mean, the damn thing was totaled out. That went through like that. That was amazing. Now, of course, if you're injured, you're going to be like, well, I could give two damns about the truck.
Right.
You know,
So,
and that's been our problem. But
Yeah, but you juxtapose this against what our experience has been with
right,
Transstar.
right.
I've only had one accident, Tony, in my career, and it was a skid off the road ice accident, right? And initially, I was like, "Hey, this isn't so bad." But when I got to the point to where I needed to have all my body damage repaired, the truck was drivable just fine, but I had, the fairings and stuff needed to be replaced. Boy, was that like pulling teeth to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
It was. That was the one year that I actually met my goal, and it was not on purpose to take all of December off, but it's because it took the other insurance companies so long to approve everything. Um, and fairings, this was in 2017 or so. I had a 2016 truck, so it's not like parts were unavailable.
Right.
It was the approval processes that took so doggone long.
See, and for me, I had an OCAC claim back. God, I don't even remember what year it was. But I was in Oklahoma City. We got rear-ended by a gravel truck. I was actually in the sleeper when we got hit. I was just getting out of bed. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. We had nearly avoided another accident, and we got rear-ended by a gravel truck at 105,000 pounds who never hit the brakes at 45 and just tagged us. Which threw me into the dash or into the back wall, and then into the dash, and I was stuck between the dash and the gear shift. That was fun because I had no idea what I heard the most horrific sound I'd ever heard,
Mhm.
and then I'm laying between the stick and the dash, and it was kind of weird. And I got out of the truck. I weaseled my way out of that position and got out of the truck and was kind of in that high adrenaline, shocky kind of state, right? And I had some minor pains here and there. And I went back and I checked the guy that rear-ended us, and his block was kind of pushed up against his legs a little bit, and he was still holding on to the wheel like this. Like, still hadn't let go. He's just like, and what's funny is the guy that I was training at the time, he was still sitting there like this too. Like nobody would move. And so I got out and I checked everybody. I'm like, hey, everything okay? And he was okay, whatever. And right after I climbed off the side of his truck, I fell on the ground. I could no longer stand. I literally sat down in the travel lane. Luckily, traffic was stopped around us, and I couldn't get off the ground. I literally just, the pain and everything took over. Right then, bam, I'm sitting down. And ambulance comes, long story short, they take me to the hospital. But then we get to the claims process for the injury part, right? And going through the process with Swift's carrier at the time was not a fun thing. In fact, it got to the point where, we're a month, 2 months into the thing, and I gave up. I simply gave up. And the VA ended up paying the most of the hospital bills. The rest I paid out of pocket. I gave up. I sued the trucking company for the remainder of, the difference in the medical expenses. And I never went back to the OCAC and swore that I would never file an OCAC claim again, because that was an absolute nightmare process.
Mhm.
So while our guy on this accident we've been talking about has had some issues, I think he's actually had a much better time than I did when I tried to do my OCAC claim with the other carrier. And so, I mean, while I know it's been frustrating for him, and it would be frustrating for anybody, I gotta say that I've actually been much more pleased with what we have now versus what we had before. That's just me.
So let's cover that claim is a great claim because you can't ask for more calamities than what happened.
Right.
So let's explain how the OCAC works. Occupational accident for all coverages. Most of our competitors are what they call excess, which means from our competitor standpoint, you have to file it with your medical insurance first.
Right.
Okay. Ours is primary. No other insurance is going to pay. It's just us. So here's how it works. If you get in an accident or you trip and fall, whatever, that is zero weight. We will just pay that claim if you're on the clock. So what has to happen is for the medical portion of it, we have to prove that you're under dispatch.
Right.
Okay. If you have a copy of the bill of lading that you're operating under, that proves dispatch. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple. In this case, that was in his truck,
Right.
right? And because his truck was totaled, what happened to his computer?
Yep.
Yeah. So he couldn't access. So he had to make phone calls to get that material. So the accident and the medical portion of it, that went smooth. That's paid. He then is entitled, because he's hurt, he should be able to get disability income because his doctor told him to take off work.
Right.
Okay, so occupational accident has a 7-day wait for medical. Once you are disabled 7 days, we go back and pay benefits to day one.
Right.
Right? So we're not trying to cover a guy who gets 3 stitches, has to stay home for 2 days. We'll pay the medical bill.
Right.
He's not going to get disability income. But if he's off 7 days and that 8th day, we'll go back to day one and pay him for that time frame.
Right.
Okay? In this particular case, after 2 days of sitting where he didn't want to be, trying to figure out how to get home, what did he do? He went back to work.
Right.
And he drove for 8 days. So the adjuster looks at it and says, "Oh, you weren't hurt that bad."
Right.
Even though, we ordered medical records to prove, and his medical records and the original physician, both, he went to the doctor not only the day of the incident, but he went the following day.
Right.
Both doctors said, get home, get off your feet, get additional care. But he didn't have a way home. So he drove for 7 or 8 days. So the disability then went 2 days, which is less than 7, and then started over.
Right.
Had he had the new policy that we have, we just sent him home and he'd have been disabled from day one.
Right.
You wouldn't have had the stop and the start. Right? So then the question became, well, what did you do to re-injure the injury?
Right.
You continued to drive. Is it self-inflicted? And we tried explaining to the adjuster all these potential problems. And they didn't see it our way initially.
Right.
Okay, so you can't ask for a better storm. So we now realize getting that driver home is probably the single most important thing.
Absolutely.
We also realize the motor carrier is not going to help you. We've had a number of incidents. They are not your banker.
Right.
Right.
Right? And so the problem is, if you're injured, why do you need to have more financial injury?
Right.
And we'll take that away for it. And for a few dollars a month, you'll never even get the cost of a hotel paid, right? For your annual premium, and we'll still get you home.
And that's going to be huge. Like, that's going to be amazing for these people who are in those situations. I tried to put myself in that situation. Lucky with my wreck, I was actually back in the truck, 8 hours later. The truck was fine. I was just beat up, sprained shoulder, sprained ankle, thought I re-broke my back, but it didn't, just kind of tweaked it a bit. And I went on about I headed straight home from Oklahoma City, mind you. We got a load straight out of Oklahoma City to Oregon at the time and went straight there. And I was off for the next 2 weeks, just licking my wounds. But I can only imagine what it would have been like to actually have the truck totaled, have these injuries, and then, heaven forbid you had a bad week, a month, or whatever, a quarter, and here you are, and you're like, well, hell, how do I get my sorry tail home?
Right.
And I feel like I might have made possibly the same decision. You know what? Well, hell, rent me a truck. I'll run a load home or something, But like you said, that's going to create those problems with that claim process because, oh, look, you went back to work. You were fine.
And that's the thing too. I mean, these things never happen when you have $50,000 in the bank.
Right.
They just don't. And so it's hard to make the choice, but the right choice is when the doctor says, go see at the ER says, go see your primary care physician and don't go back to work. Follow that advice.
Do not go back to work.
because it's not just I'm a man and I could do this. We're talking about insurance claims and what adjusters think,
Right.
Yeah,
and
so
it can be a thing.
And so it screwed up the claims process on the ICAC. Now you adjust the BOE, right? He should be
Right.
getting his BOE benefit. So he had a claim. 3 days later, he's in a truck, or 4 days later.
Mm-hmm.
The BOE has a 15-day wait back up,
Right.
and then it goes back. So he got out, he went to work, and then he went off. That killed a month. He lost
Right.
a month worth of benefits. We've been arguing with the insurance company in order to pay that claim, except he got paid for that run. My argument is he didn't make enough money to cover the cost of the truck,
Right.
right? There was no income. All he really did was spend a bunch of fuel and pay an exorbitant lease to get that truck run all over. And
Right.
then he ended up deadheading home anyway.
Right. Right.
Right? So he burnt up a ton of fuel. For what he lost, he could have got on a bus and rode home.
Right.
Been home in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would say he should have got on a plane, flew home, and been there in a couple 4 or 5 hours, and then
Right.
then they had to drive from one state to another state to get home.
Right.
Right? So my argument is this will help us speed up the process of claims. It
Right.
won't cause this problem
Mm-hmm.
because now you have a stop and a start, and it's a problem,
Yeah.
right? And he understands it, but he was in a rock and a hard place.
Right. And he was thinking about right now, he had already had a crappy week before this. He didn't have his, credit card. And like you said, he ended up paying, out of pocket for that expensive ass hotel the first night. The Uber, the whole 9 yards. I mean, all this stuff stacked up on him. And he's like, well, hell, the only way out of this is to get in a truck and go make money. That's the only way I'm going to get home. It's the only way I'm going to get out of this hole. And Lord knows that was a firestorm.
Yeah, he went deeper in debt.
Right.
So anyway, that's why we did what we did, and I think that will help. And we'll send it out. You don't have to take it. You don't have to buy it. It's an option. And I
would highly recommend grabbing it for anyone who's listening or watching. I'm telling you right now that, I haven't had an accident since that one, right? Now that I said that, guess what's coming, right? It'll be, the first day I go back to work or some craziness. And you don't get insurance hoping to use it. You get insurance hoping that you never have to use it, but Lord help you if you don't have it when you need it, right?
Yep.
And this is one of those instances I think that this is truer than ever. I mean, with this case, with my case, with others we've heard over the years, man, having something like this built into it would have been amazing to have.
Yes, and instant pay. The room was paid. You don't have to pay it and get it reimbursed.
Right.
We took care of making the reservation, getting you there, and paid for it as we went, the whole 9 yards. You're just done. Right? And then get the driver home and
Right.
make the experience as pleasant as it can be for the fact that you had a bad day.
Right.
Which
And oh man. It really was a perfect storm of oh my God for this guy.
Yes.
And I mean, good Lord, it was just horrible. And like Chris Tucker
Yeah.
said, exactly. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. So yeah, I've lived by that forever. You should be in my garage.
And as we've worked with this driver too, I've actually told him that I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but I'm glad that it's you.
Right.
Because he's just so, when things don't go the way you want them to, it's so easy to go out on the Facebooks and all that stuff and just complain. And he's really, I told him just the other day, I said, because of what you're going through, we've learned so much, and it's going to help other guys. Absolutely. Right.
And it's
now we know
this other addendum to the policy, or I'm not sure
right.
addendum is the right word, but
Yeah. And Tony, we tell people all the time that we've learned more from you about insurance since about January than we ever wanted to know. We are
That's
not
for sure.
insurance people. That's why we built the relationship with you, because we needed that expert on our team. And it's been a good, interesting and adventure learning about.
It's been
all this
painful at
stuff.
moments. It's been
Oh.
wow, and it's been mind blowing. It's been so many different, good Lord, emotions and feelings. And I'm not a feelings guy, but good Lord, it's been a roller coaster with this stuff, trying to learn it and understand it, and then the claims process and the people that have gone through the claims, and I mean, just so many other things.
Yeah, and there's so many things that can happen, and I mean, there's so many places for insurance to take, and there's so many policies. It's not like your car insurance where everything's under one umbrella.
Right.
Yeah, commercial trucking is broke down, and every little thing has its own policy and its own procedure. And chances are, in almost all cases, they're not with the same carrier. Right? It's just not the way it used to be, as the markets keep shrinking and going away.
Just curious, Tony, on proof of dispatch, if we are en route and have not picked our load up yet, it does send it to the computer, but most of us should have what's known as the point app. It's a phone version of the computer in the truck, which would show the fact that we were dispatched and we were on the load and this and that, whether we had picked it up yet or not. Would a screenshot of that suffice as proof?
Yes.
In
Keep
that
in mind, Swift has a different version of your contract. So under a normal contract, you total your truck, right? The contract isn't broken. It is that the contract will have to have a different unit, and you'll replace that unit with whatever else you do, so the primary stays intact.
Right.
In this case, because the truck is no longer there, you have no contract. You will need to sign new contracts. So when that happened and he got home and started to chase the information, he didn't have access.
Gotcha.
They terminated the contract, right? Once they terminated it, that means he has to call somebody to have them send it to it.
Gotcha.
That also caused delays. That's not his fault.
Right.
Right. And his truck wasn't in his backyard to go get it. That's where it was. So when the truck was picked up and hauled away in Georgia, everything he needed was somewhere else. And so that was a stumbling block.
Right.
Whereas in, I would say, most cases, carriers don't terminate your contract because you don't have a truck. I understand why they do it, but the real contract is between them and the driver.
Right.
Right. That truck doesn't move itself. Right. If there's no driver, that contract is worthless. That truck ain't moving.
Right.
And so the contract should be with the driver who brings his truck.
Right. Well, just to explain to anyone who doesn't understand how IEL and the Swift leases work, we do sign two separate lease contracts, one for the piece of equipment itself, and then one for leasing that truck and the driver and their services onto Swift to transport freight with said truck. When the truck was totaled, the equipment contract was terminated, and because he no longer had a truck, the ICOA, Independent Contractors Operating Agreement, was then terminated as well, pending him getting a new truck or a new truck to him. So for anyone who's confused by what we're talking about right now, that's what it is the contract was terminated for the equipment that was totaled to stop the damage to the contractor paying for a truck that's no longer usable. The equipment is paid off. He no longer has payments, but he also can't haul freight now.
Yeah.
Right.
So the entire contract is ultimately terminated. Both contracts rather are terminated. And that's okay. I see what you're saying now. And then he loses access to that dispatch info. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
He couldn't prove anything. So then they said, well, and he hadn't been there very long. Right. And he was unemployed before he got there. So then they were trying to figure out, the earnings. Well, we all know that the gross income of these trucks are relatively high.
Right.
Okay. So we were able to, it doesn't matter that he was unemployed. He could have been unemployed for 100 years.
Right.
He changed that to become his own boss, running as an independent contractor, owner operator. In that universe, he only had to work a day to prove his value per day.
Right.
It's not up to him to make that fight. That's a Sebrite fight, not him.
Right.
And had we had that conversation, he would have just said what he did, got his wage, sent it over, and
Right.
we would have argued. That's my job. My job is to make you guys whole as quickly as we can.
Right.
So he went through the process. Most drivers, again, would have been so mad they'd have called right away, right? And you said, "Oh, that's part of the process. This is where I take over."
Yeah, this guy is exceptionally understanding.
Yeah, that didn't happen for 10 days.
Right.
Right? So he calls quite frequently, and it's always good to hear from him, right? And you feel so bad.
Right.
He's trying to be the right mindset, temperament. But sometimes, guys, you just got to let us know. I'd have been madder than a hatter. I would not have tolerated this.
He is terminally a nice guy. Like, if you know this guy, I mean, in real life, which all three of us have met him, he is just terminally a nice guy. And just positive, man. He's the kind of person you want to be around. Like, you want these people around you.
I'm sure he has the best friends in the world, because he's the best guy I've ever met. I'm
no doubt.
I wish I had 10% of his patience. I have none compared to him.
Right. Oh, I'd have been a huge thorn in someone's side, Tony, because, I'm kind of a pain in the backside. But
yeah, but so all those things, I mean, we couldn't have anticipated the start, the stop, the stop, the start again. But the bottom line is, at the end of the deal, he'll be fine. He will be taken care of. And the chances of this happening again are about slim to none, I would think. And I also believe fixing that hotel problem, fixing the transportation problem to get him to and from, fixing him to be able to get to and from the truck, to gather his personal information, getting him to the airport, getting him flown home where his family can pick him up. Those things just will make it smoother. They may not appreciate it once it really happens that way.
Right.
Maybe just to expect it, but nobody else is going to do that. No other policy picks up all that. And so,
and just the stress relief. I mean, it's just, 2 or 3 less things you have to deal with. That hotel, getting to the truck, getting back to your home. I mean, good Lord, man. On top of everything else, you got that crap.
Yeah. And you hurt.
Right. And I am not a pleasant person when I'm in pain. Many people around that know me, Jeff could tell you, I am a great big baby, and I become the grumpiest son of a what.
I have to text Rosie and say, "Is Charlie okay?
Right?
Is he a snack?"
It's not pretty. And then add all this other crap on top of it. I can't. God, I just don't even know.
So I think once you guys get our sheet, hopefully it's done. The artwork is done over the weekend.
Cool.
She's had 4 days to get it done. I think once we put that out and you understand we want to help you with the claim, let us walk through the process. They do need to hear from you, and you will have to tell your story.
Right.
Maybe up to twice, but even so, the American Interfidelity uses Gallagher, so does our occupational accident. So in those cases, you just have to let them know you only want to do this one time. It's affecting the following policies.
Right.
That guess should not be a guess. You should let us help you to inform that Gallagher rep. These are all the policies that are affected.
Right.
And then from there, you're done. And then you go worry about recovering. So I think
that streamlines everything.
Yeah, it does. And I think having people who understand how to, process this claim, they may ask you for information. we may call you right back after the phone and say, we can get that for you.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So most of the time, motor carriers actually will work with us. They may send it directly to the driver, and you
Right.
may have to forward it to me. But it's just one step instead of three.
Right.
And that's huge.
It's huge. And so I think when the guys understand it and they let us, sometimes they'll say, I can do this.
Right.
Everybody can. Why do you want to?
Right.
Why do you want to say the wrong thing? Right?
And I'm one of those stubborn people, Tony. I would have been like, oh, I could do this. I know who I got to do and what I got to do and who I got to call. And then I would have been like, sweet Lord, Tony, save me. I done messed everything up.
Yeah. So rather than do that, it's just easier to let us walk through the system with you. And the staff in the office is more than capable and more than willing to help you.
Right.
There are some things we just can't do. We could never get your medical records.
Right.
That's something you would have to do. But your chances of needing to do that is maybe 1 in 1,000 claims.
Right.
Right. So
that was part of my big problem when I did that OCAC claim. They wanted my entire life's medical records, like no joke. I said, well, here's the information from Oklahoma General Hospital, whatever the hell it was. And like, no, but we want to know before that. I said, okay, well, how far? They said, we need your entire medical history. I'm like, are you out of your mind? And they would not let up. Like, they wanted everything from the time I was born. And I told them they were idiots and pound sand. And it was not a pleasant experience at all.
And those are typical responses when your policy is excess.
Right.
Right. So we're one of two that are primary. The idea under a primary is you could have been injured 2 weeks ago. You just had an accident. Prove the accident didn't occur.
Right.
And we re-injured it. Right. If you hadn't had the accident, the injury wouldn't have went to the new direction.
Right.
The accident's responsible. So they will pay. Right. So what we want to do is to make sure we get it under control so that you can spend the right amount of time recuperating and taking care of your family and getting yourself back in a truck if that's what you choose to do.
Just like the hospital is going to triage you on the physical injuries, Sebrite's going to be here to help triage this claims process for us. Like that? Broke that down. Use some medical terms. Oh, man. Yeah, so like Chris Trucker says, it's growing pains right now. He said, and look, this is exactly how we feel, Chris. He said, y'all are planting the seeds, the trees that contractors later on will sit underneath the shade of. And I hope that more people see it that way. I understand the frustration that some folks have had. And like this one individual, like I can't tell you guys enough. And when this is all said and done and we've got it all figured out, I actually want to get him on to talk about this process from start to finish and really just break down what happened and how it went and why things went the way they went so that we don't make these mistakes. And by then we should not be making those mistakes anymore because we'll have these processes in place that are going to make that not happen.
Yes. A lot of good things as a result of this one bad thing. That's
right.
the way I got to look at it.
Right.
Once you find out, keep in mind when we talk to the motor carriers to put these products together, they tell you just enough to get you to quote it and to take care of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And in this case, for Swift taking a hard position, and it's rightfully so, right? You are your own business.
Right.
McDonald's on one street corner, if it burnt down, doesn't get help from Wendy's across the street.
Right.
Long John Silver's, right?
Right.
So the motor carrier is the same way. So we have to take care of that. We have to think about any part of this claim that is exposed under normal circumstances would be covered or picked up or
Right.
the rules bent. So I'm not faulting Swift for their position. It's probably the correct thing to do for reasons of reclassification.
Right.
Right.
Problem. So the more stronger we can make the owner operator financially, the better these things will happen for everybody, for Swift, for you guys. We just made a huge presentation, and I just explained to them, this is almost Contractor's Corner strong,
Nice.
right? And it's what we've got is a lot. And if you look at what you're paying, the premium difference between the policies that you currently have out there somewhere versus ours, if ours is just exactly the same price, our benefits are so much stronger
Right.
than what they have under those other dollars.
And that's what we thought it was going to be when we first started this whole process. We thought, okay, we're coming in the same rates, pretty close to the same thing, but we're going to have so much better support and a much better product that, we're dealing with. And then Swiss insurance carrier jumped their rate by 2% of the truck value, which skyrocketed prices for people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there were in the beginning, there were people that was maybe 10 or 15 bucks more for Sebrite, but when
I was going to come in a little more.
We were looking at coverages, our other insurance didn't even offer the coverages that Sebrite was offering.
Right.
So
and we do want to thank those guys who are non-Swift who call in because of you guys. And we'll compile numbers at the end of July to let you know. And we have put together a private market program for those drivers who are influenced by this podcast or any of the podcasts you want to be seen under your auspice. And I think that will help you as well.
Yeah, I know, like, we had a huge influx of night guys when we first started this, and we had no idea that night guys were even watching us.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, what's with night calling us? Are you guys doing something? We're like, who knew? So yeah, we want you guys to know that, you don't have to be a Swift contractor to get in on some of these deals. I mean, you take our fuel card, for instance. I'm talking to people I've never seen before at a fuel island that, is a one truck number runner. And I'm like, hey man, check this out.
That's always fun because they always look at you like, who the heck is this guy?
Oh yeah. And but then you add in, the insurance and our recommendation on Trucker CFO and other products that ES Advantage are going to be coming out with and things like that. I mean, man, it's cool. And just know that if you aren't a Swift contractor, hey, look, we got you. We're going to try and help you out the best way we can. Jeff and I are contracted to who we're contracted to. And, a great deal of the people that watch the show on a weekly basis live are typically Swift contractors. Some are not. But it's not just about the Swift side of things. We want you guys to know that we are working on a bigger picture because we realize that there are more people than what we anticipated to start with that are paying attention to these things. And they're like, wait, what about me? And we're like, Tony's got you. We got you at ES Advantage. We got you at Trucker CFO. These products that we're talking about and things like that are made for pretty much anyone. Yeah, they're universal. I mean,
the concepts that we teach on what's right now at the private Facebook group,
right?
You could take these principles to any other carrier. It's not unique to Swift that you need to build relationships with people that can keep your truck moving. That's not a Swift thing. That's an everybody thing.
Keeping your fuel costs down, your trucking overhead down, whether it's insurance, fuel, tires, I mean, so many different things, we've got stuff there for you guys. So just understand that, you know, it's not just a Swift channel. I know I've seen people say, oh, they're just Swift guys, and that's cool. I mean, whatever. But we are here for the masses. We're here trying to do things for everyone. And like Jeff was saying, you know, the principles we teach and the things that we preach, you know, these are universal. You know, if you've got a one truck in your own numbers, these things are going to help you. You know, if you can get a better insurance rate and lower your fuel cost and get a better accounting service going for you, win.
Yep.
You know, or if you're a small carrier with 20 trucks, they all apply.
Yep.
So, you know,
here's a huge thing. When you today, if you are on the other side of the channel, right, for insurance, which
right.
I understand there's a lot of people out there, and you quit or you're terminated, what happens to all your insurance under the other program?
You're out. You've got none.
It's done, right? So under reclassification, one of the biggest arguments is they negotiate all your insurance premiums, they negotiate all your coverages, and they decide you're terminated for any reason, which your contracts all say they can do that.
Right.
Right? And then you're left without any insurance. What good person running his own business would allow somebody else to control their insurance?
Right.
And this is portable, so you could take it with you.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who participates, this is a long-term commitment to help you through this motor carrier agreement or any other motor carrier agreement.
Right.
Right? We're going to prove that you are a business, and we're going to help you. So if you look at everything these two guys have brought to your table, from the accounting software to have your books done so you know whether you're making a profit by the day, the week, the hour, what your practices are, could you change your practices, to controlling your own insurance so that you know when something happens, you're not at the mercy of somebody else. You
Right.
are the insured, not Swift.
Yep.
Right? You stand a much stronger possibility of being self-employed under our scenario than you do under the Swift scenario.
Right.
I'm not saying the Swift is bad. I have no idea. But running my own trucks, I know when you make the statement that you are self-employed, you truly are under this scenario.
Right.
Right? And that's where you want to be.
And that's something we've really been pushing and striving for is not because we think Swift is big, bad, ugly, whatever. We want to actually operate our businesses. We want to create that separation. I don't want this money they end up having to hand out for these reclassification lawsuits. I mean, the last one was $100 million. Yeah, I got a couple grand. That was cool. I mean, it was nice, but what did that cost me long term? Through rate increases that could have happened contractually. I mean, any number of ways to look at it from a business standpoint, you know. Oh, great, I got a couple grand now. That was awesome. You know, some people got big checks. But what was the loss overall? And you know, I don't know how to quantify that because I don't know their end of it, right? But you know, I operate under the assumption that the better we do for our customers, the better our customers can do for us.
Yep.
Making things win-win is, I mean, the ideal world, and I think that a lot of this can be swept right into that ideal world because we're helping to create that.
Well, and I was going to say too, Charlie and Tony, a lot of times, because we harp on the reclassification thing quite a bit when we're talking to people, you know, I don't think people generally understand what that means for us. And so, you know, to put it in terms that most people can understand, Swift will not contract with someone out of the state of California.
Right.
Because of the AB5 law that went into effect several years ago. And that's what reclassification could do to us. Reclassification could end the independent contractor model of business, period. And so what Tony's has helped us to do on the insurance side is create just a little more separation between us and the carrier we're leased to. so that if, let's say the Pro Act, I'm always talking about the Pro Act. People are like, oh gosh, Pro Act again, that's dead. Well, it hasn't passed yet, but it is by far, it's far from dead. If that were to pass, we would be looking at AB5 nationwide. So how do you protect yourself from that? How do you stay in business in that environment where a regulation comes down and says, oh, your business is illegal now? Well,
Right.
wait a minute. The only thing I'm getting from Swift is freight. That's it. I'm using them to get freight. And I have the ability to do a trip lease, so I can go out and work for other people if I want to. Right? I'm not married to them. I just get most of my freight from them. That's where we want to be. Everything else, we want to separate ourselves from the carrier as much as we can. And that helps Swift not get sued. And that helps us if these, I'll just say it, draconian laws actually get passed and our business is deemed illegal. We have a leg to stand on at that point. We can check the boxes on that ABC test.
Can you imagine something like that passing 2 weeks before you're paying off your truck?
Oh my goodness, that would.
And now you have to hand in your truck. I'd be pissed. I would completely just. I don't even know how to process that. That would be probably one of the worst things that I think could happen. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like that scenario just broke my brain.
Well, it's like we always say, we don't talk politics on the show. We don't talk politics on Facebook that much. But be aware.
Right.
Educate yourself on what some of these laws could do to your business. And, one of the things Charley and I have done within the last, it's been 18 months now, I guess, when we started really looking at this. Separate yourself, protect your business.
Right.
Right. So we make you stronger. There's no
Absolutely
question that we make that owner operator model stronger than what the other side of the aisle is doing.
Yep.
And we'll help you through it. So you have every tool at your disposal to find out for sure if you're making money. I like the guy in Colorado, by the way. I've talked to a couple guys that is using
Utah.
I'm sorry. God, what a crackerjack job that guy does.
Yeah.
He's
kind of scary to talk to sometimes. He's very intense and very knowledgeable. He's like,
yeah, he's bold and blunt.
Right.
But
He is.
I have no problem with that because these guys, we've had 2 conversations with people, which caused people in the office to come in and ask about him. And I said, well, what he's really enabling for the 2 guys that I spoke to just in the last 24 hours, he has allowed them to find out for sure that they're making money.
Right.
And the practices that they're doing is either profitable or unprofitable.
Right.
If it's unprofitable, stop doing it.
Right.
Right. And it made you very
doctor, it hurts when I go like this. Doctor says, don't do that.
Yep.
Right. And so, it's more than just pulling freight, making money. Sometimes you got to know what the freight is worth, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to look at it short term, and sometimes you'll do something you wouldn't necessarily do. He'll tell you what it costs you to do it.
Right.
Hindsight is 20/20. There's no question what you did produced X or not.
Right.
Hindsight kicked me in the tail a lot.
Yeah. So this guy's practice. I saw him at the show in Vegas. He was impressive when he was up there.
Right.
I'm more impressed from the drivers that are using him than I could have ever been from attending that meeting, because the proof's in the pudding. I mean, these guys are spouting terms that they didn't know before he had spoke to them. And it's just an amazing thing.
And for anyone who's wondering, we're talking about Colton Lawrence, the owner of Trucker CFO. There's information on how to sign up for his services in the ticker down below. You can check it out, and if you dig him, cool, let him know we sent you.
Yeah, my hat's off to him. I would recommend him day in and day out.
Yeah, I just like how blunt and honest he is. I mean, just brutal honest. That's I deal so well with that. If I did something stupid, he will tell you, that was probably pretty stupid. right? That's been my experience from him and from what other have talked about him and things like that, and that's what I just dig about it. I like the fact that you'll tell me you're an idiot, Charlie. I mean, you won't say it that way, but I understand what you're saying sometimes.
Yeah, and he's willing to deep dive as much as you are when you talk to him. Like,
Right.
if you want to talk to him about the markets and how things are going, he has that information on the top of his head.
Oh yeah.
He has his thumb on the pulse of the industry, like just about nobody else I've talked to that's been willing to talk to me.
Right.
You know, and that's a really good asset, I think.
Yeah.
We see him on I'll just do a shout out for Todd real quick. Trucker Todd had him on, what was it, 2 months ago, and the dude did this deep analysis of the ups and downs of the freight over the last year or so, and gave his opinion on where he thought spot market rates were going, and why he thought that now was not a good time to go after that.
Right. And what needed to happen for it to turn around.
Yeah, it was a really fascinating segment that they did.
Yeah, I think that was like 2 months ago on the last show of the month for Trucker Todd's channel. He has a CFO on the last Tuesday of the month. But yeah, it was absolutely fascinating, and the guy just really cranks out information if you're willing to dip into it.
It's a great reality check because you can sit and look at the numbers and say, I'm doing fine. Have a
Right.
conversation with him, and you walk away thinking, oh, I can be doing a lot better than I need to do. And
Right.
he'll tell you that need to do, which was the impressive thing.
Right.
And so
And he really takes that role serious as your CFO. You know, you are ultimately going to make the decision, but he's going to give you his recommendations, much like you do with the insurance here. And he's going to say, hey, here's what we have. Here's what I think should work for you. And then ultimately it falls on your head to make a decision.
Yep.
You're the CEO. You need to handle your business. You know, all he can do is make recommendations and guide you through real numbers and knowledge.
for what you get from him, it's cheap.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
It's not like your wife telling you, oh, honey, you're doing okay.
Right.
You may not be, and he's the first to tell you, oh, you're treading water okay. But
Yeah.
Well, he's
really what you want to do.
And you know, he's another one also like Sebrite, where he offers a level of service that nobody else is offering.
Right.
It's more expensive than what I pay. I don't need it yet where I'm at financially, but he does the full blown QuickBooks everything. You know, if you're making a certain amount of money, that's his service.
It's cheap for what it is, but it ain't cheap.
Right. I mean, you know, it's like walking into an exotic car shop. You know, if you need to ask how much, you probably can't afford it.
Right. It ain't
If
time.
you can afford it, you probably need the service.
Right.
So it is amazing what he's put together.
And he will have that conversation with you. He will tell you exactly when you're going to need that thing, or let you know, no, you don't need that yet. He's not going to try and upsell you on some crap you don't need, which is amazing.
So get a little bit of a throwback here to what we were talking about with AB5 and paying attention to politics a little bit. Timothy Ransom did mention they are also trying to pass national speed governors on the trucks as well.
Right.
And you know, that's been going around the Facebooks, including our group, back and forth. And I don't know if they'll actually pass that or not. They've been trying for a long time. I think all the way back to President Obama, they were trying to pass something like that.
Well, before the ATA was against it, and now they've switched sides, and they are 100% behind it.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's
I
a
read
weird deal.
a couple articles on that this week. So yeah, stay informed. You know, there's a couple of ways to look at something like that. I bend a little bit towards the libertarian side of things, so I don't like being told what to do. But the fact is, I drive my truck 60 anyway.
Right.
So practically, it's really not going to affect me that much because they're looking at a 65-mile-an-hour speed limiter on trucks. But at the same time, I think if you want to drive 80 through Texas, Drive
Have
80
at
through
it.
Texas.
As long as you understand what it's costing you, that's all we're gonna say.
I do not like other people telling me I can't do things like that.
Right. Bear Hunter made a profound statement here. I'm a driver, not a business owner. That's my struggle right now.
Well, the
And
first
he
step
is
to
working
recovery.
on that.
The first
Exactly.
step to recovery.
Admitting you have the problem. And that's why, we've been working with excuse me, with Sean as much as we have over the past. And even though he is stubborn as all get out, he is making small changes that are improving his business side. So there's hope for you yet, Sean. Don't worry.
Well, and he has this over supportive wife. Charlie and I have talked about this. He and his wife are a pair, man. If you ever meet these two, they're awesome. I swear, if Bear Hunter said, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this crazy thing. I'm gonna go bungee jumping, even though I'm 200 years old at this point," his wife would be like, "Yeah, honey, let's go do it."
Yeah, and she'll be right next to him. Man, face first, let's do it. I'm gonna truck to Mars. Oh yeah, let's do that too. We could do it. Damn the consequences.
They're an amazing couple.
They really are. They're fun to listen to. Oh Lord. Well, if you guys got any questions, by all means, please throw them up. We've been at this a little over an hour. Don't know that we'll do a full 2-hour show today. Tony, if you got anything you got to do, let us know, man, and we'll cut you loose whenever you need to cut loose. But seriously, I've dug the conversation, and I like the fact that you guys at Sebrite have seen some of the problems, and rather than just go deal with it, you're like, hey, let's see if we can make this a little bit better. Maybe we can work something out here.
Yeah. So I took a little bit of a risk this week, Charlie.
Uh-oh.
So I made the choice, knowing what the consequences might be for me,
Right.
to switch additives.
Oh, did you do that?
Yeah, I put the 6,000 mile treatment in and filled the tank up a couple days ago. And the truck was idling really rough, like I was telling you recently, like rough, like had hard to sleep rough. So I just let it idle for about 2 hours,
Right.
and it smoothed out.
Really?
Yeah. So
Nice.
So we'll see. I've got enough for about a week and a half worth of the
That's the hot
everyday.
shot stuff.
Yeah. And we'll see if the fuel mileage goes up. We'll see.
I think that'll be cool.
So just so you guys know, the risk I'm taking is I had the DPF Alternatives full service done about a year and a half ago, which gives me a lifetime warranty on my DPF as long as I use max mileage.
Right.
But the engine's getting older, and she was running a bit rough, and I was reading about what it all did, and talking to Craig about it and Charlie about it in a very long conversation over the last 2 weeks. And I decided, well, let's see if this stuff does anything for my problem I'm having. And like I say, I put it in, and I drove it like 10 miles from the truck stop back to the house, full tanks with the new additive in it, and let it idle for about 2 hours, and it started smoothing out. So we'll see.
That's exciting. I like that kind of stuff. I just
you know
I like
me,
you guys are doing the testing.
You know me, Charlie. It took a lot of people to convince me to even use max mileage. I do not like putting stuff in my fuel. There's just too many stories of the snake oil thing, over the years. I'm really skeptical about it.
Right.
So,
by the way, Mark Olinger, what's up, buddy? Glad to see you made it to a show live, man. That's awesome. Jeff, he's asking, can you give an overview of Trucker CFO and costs?
I don't have the full sheet on it.
I don't have it either.
I can tell you I'm paying $31.99 a week, and that's with an S corp and doing payroll and everything.
Right.
There is 2 tiers below where I'm at. So it's kind of funny because what people are going to really want to know, let's just get it out there, is are they cheaper than ATBS?
Right.
For me, they are. ATBS is $40 a week at my level. It is $31.99 at Trucker CFO. I think that one tier below me, which is what most of you are going to want to do, is $1 more
Yeah, I think it was just,
Oh,
slightly higher.
than at ATBS. But I'm telling you, the level of service that I've experienced and others at CFO, I mean, I can't say too much because I still need them to finish my taxes over there at the other company.
Bitcoin John, what's up,
But-
buddy? Bitcoin John said, I may retire. I got 2 mega tickets. Yeah, buddy. Look,
Yeah,
don't
share the wealth, buddy.
right.
Remember, we got you on that fuel card that made you famous.
Jonah Green asked, anything on the load board? No, they changed the meetings to Wednesdays. So we're going to be a week delayed on the updates that we do get from this point forward. There was some stuff they're trying to work on this week. Honestly, I was at the meeting on time, and Riley said, all right, this is what's up. My connection got killed. When I finally got back into the meeting last Wednesday, he's like, all right, anybody got questions? That's what we got. And I'm like, oh crap, missed the whole damn thing.
I could tell you that it's back to working mostly.
Right.
I booked a load for Friday today, and it went through just fine. One of the things though, kind of load board, but not. I am seeing a lot more freight on the load board this week than I've seen in a long time.
Right.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Because I live in the Salt Lake Valley, and for me getting eastbound load out of the house, I had to be looking at that thing all day for a couple days before.
God, and for a while there, I just remember you listening to you, and then I'd go look, and you're like, dude, there's like one load out of Salt Lake City for this week.
Yeah. So this week there was 5 pages of loads.
Nice.
So I think things are starting to pick up, guys. I think we might be, you're always cautious about any predictions, but I think we may be turning the corner, and I think things might start slowly increasing for us.
Hey, Tony, Chris the Trucker asked for this new addendum to the Sebrite policy. Will we get an email flyer about it? He's asked, did he hear that right?
Yes. So once we get the artwork back, it's supposed to be tomorrow, then we will send it out to all the insureds. Cool. And then we will include it on all proposals going forward. It's an option. You don't have to take it. You don't have to sign that you didn't want it. It's just we'll put it out there, and if you want it, we'll bind you immediately and start collecting premium. My guess is it's between $12 and $15 a month.
And on the subject of collecting premium, because there are some new folks that have been watching lately. They don't know anything about how Sebrite works or any of that. And we've had some people over the past who, got to the point where their premium was due, and they're like, well, I didn't make any money this week. So when they sign up and bind their policy with Sebrite, through Sebrite, let's say they start their policy on the 1st of the month, Tony. When can they expect their first bill for that coverage?
So the bills go out on the 20th.
So
for the month.
There you go.
And so you get 2 things. One is you get a link where you can go on and set it up and do an ACH. If you get behind, you can write a check and take a picture of it and send it to Mary. She'll cash that picture. If you need to make special arrangements, you can call the office, talk to Mary, and she can work with you, because we have a number of guys that get behind. We understand that. We're willing to help you. But here's the thing. If you get behind and you leave, you still owe the money.
Right. Communication is key here.
Yes. And so we'll help you. We're not opposed to taking risk with these insureds. For the most part, I would say, like anything else, 90% of the Swift drivers are good people.
Right.
And these are hard times right now because of the loads, especially I hear, if you're in the West and trying to get back East,
right,
not always the easy thing to do. And so when you have to sit for 2 or 3 days and you can't figure it out and you haven't made any money, you can talk to us and we will help.
Right. And just to give people an idea on how to process this and handle this, is if your policy starts on the 1st of July, Swift is no longer charging you for insurance on a weekly basis. Don't spend that money.
Right.
Put that money you were going to pay Swift for insurance, put it into a savings account, pull it aside, pull it somewhere, do something with it other than put it in your bank account to spend, and then use that to pay your policy when the invoice comes out around the 20th. Problem solved.
And I just recently set up auto pay, and they gave me an option of, I think it was 3 different dates to have it taken out.
Right.
So I chose the 15th of the month for mine. I think you could do the 1st, the 15th, and the 20th or something like that. But yeah, I just, once you can cash flow it, it's not a big deal. I understand the starting up, that first payment you have to pay looks a little scary, but realize you're going to be able to cash flow that every month because you're not paying Swift anymore.
So Jonah Green asks, why is the fee so high to pay the insurance? I'm assuming that's
with the credit card, debit card.
Yeah, the credit card is set by the credit card company. It has nothing to do with us. So the transaction fee, so we are charged to cash checks. So I think most of these have a $5 transaction fee. I can tell you that we are working with a company out of Tennessee. We just got approved for a $3.50 per transaction.
Nice.
Which is nothing. But if you are paying with a credit card so that you can get your miles and all the other free things that you get by doing that, that's set by them, not us. And every card is different, by the way.
Right.
Right. So be a little conscious of if you're paying it with an American Express or a Visa or a MasterCard.
And not just a Visa or MasterCard, but a Chase Visa versus a Corporal Skippy's Visa versus a Snafu Visa. I mean, all these different people have all their different crap, and it's like I don't get hammered because I go through a credit union with a debit card. They're not charging these exorbitant fees. So yeah, I mean, the ACH is probably going to be the easiest and best way to do this thing, you guys. I mean, honest to God, just set up that auto pay and let it run. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, we need to talk more. You should be able to float this a little bit better than that. You see anything I missed, Jeff?
Matt and Nisa missed part of the show, apparently.
Matt, we just talked about that, man. You're gonna have to scroll back, dude, because it was kind of sad. Anyhow, we didn't really have an update other than that it's working again, which was helpful on the load board. He asked, "Any new info on the load board, dude?" Like 3 minutes before you type that. Just throwing it out there. I love that guy. It's weird. I'm gonna say it out loud. I say it all the time when I talk about him. That something about hugging that dude. He just makes you feel safe. Just wraps you up like a bear. It's like a blanket. Safety. Whoopi. I'm gonna call him Whoopi. Whoopi Nissen. I'm going somewhere dark. Anyhow, you guys, if you got any other questions, throw them up. Otherwise, I think we may wrap this thing a little early tonight. If you got any
holiday and all.
insurance, holiday and all. If you got any specific insurance questions, now's the time to throw them out there, and we will get Tony to jump on them right now. We'll give you a 5-minute warning, so get them up, get them out there, and let's see what you can do. Jonah Green said, "I pay with my bank card, and it's like $14 in fees." So yeah, that's I don't know what to say, man.
It's anywhere from 2.25% to 3%.
Yeah, that's rough.
No.
So when we put it out there, we put it out as they give it to us.
Right.
And all of you guys will be different. It's not like you can, Jeff's cost for his card is going to be different than Charlie's card. If you're paying with the same card, you both will pay the same fee, of course, but it's not our choice.
Right.
So we've got the good things. Hey, I have a question for you guys. What do you think the percentage of the guys who use the ES card is of your book?
I used to know a pretty good number. I haven't checked on that number in quite some time. I know, judging by the comments and the people talking about it, it's a pretty good number of our private group. I want to say maybe 60%, possibly. Maybe I'm optimistic. The biggest problem a lot of them have, to be honest, is funding the card up front. It's they just don't have $2,500 to fund the card for a week or two. So we've coached people on different ways to do that. We have a deal we're working on where we're gonna try and put out some information on a better way to fund it. It's not a quick way, but it's a way you could do it starting from zero. So I'm not sure. I know there are quite a few people using it. I just don't know what that percentage is right now.
Because it sounds like the average savings from just the drivers we're talking to is anywhere from 800 to as high as 1,300. I've heard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Savings.
And that's huge.
That's more than the cost of your insurance. It's
right.
Right. It's like spending $1 and getting everything else all covered.
Right.
So yeah, compared to Mud Flap, which is something we had here before I met Jason and those guys.
Right. And look, Mud Flap has its place. Don't get me wrong. There are some locations where Mud Flap will beat everybody depending on the lane you're running. I mean, there's times where I found quick trips and I've used my Swift Con data card to pay for fuel because it was cheaper than what ES was in that lane. One of the things we say is use everything at your disposal to find the best price possible for you on that trip, that day, that week, that month. Do the due diligence, and only when you get into the groove, it only takes you a couple minutes at the beginning of your day to sort it all out.
Yeah, I do it as part of my pre-trip every morning. I just go through the different apps and shop fuel.
And I know people keep asking us about it. I mean, it's funny because every time we get new people in the group, they're like, "Hey, what's this fuel card you're talking about?" So then we got to go through it and explain it, and I think it's a no-brainer personally. Mark Ollinger. Oh Lord, sir, you were just typing in there yesterday. I'm just gonna say that. I will shoot you a deal. It is Contractors Corner Consulting Group on the Facebooks. There is a public page which is available and open to anybody. So if you look for public pages, Contractors Corner Consulting Group, you'll find that. Or if you're actually a Swift contractor, a verifiable, current, active Swift contractor, we do have a private Facebook group just for you guys. And with that, I think we are gonna wrap this. Bear Hunter threw out right at the end there. Right on, Tony. So Bear Hunter's happy.
Hey, this is an important question, man. Stop. There we go.
Oh, Roland asked, will ES Advantage have kilowatt discount when electric trucks come out? I bet they're thinking about it. I would be if I was them.
Do we have a TK up there? TK, hey, TK.
Shows up at the end. Glad to see you, TK, my brother. Well, Tony, you got anything else you want to throw out to the nice folks watching, listening, or catching this on the replay?
No, we'll have more to say maybe in a week. Maybe I'll call you at the end of this week and get on for next week.
Cool.
And I'll actually get the brochures out to you so you can actually show them. And we can walk through the process. And if we can't do it this week, the following week for sure.
Awesome.
And listen, if you guys find gaps, weaknesses, just in your trucking life that you found that insurance doesn't cover,
right,
bring it to my attention. I'm opposed to listen to anything
right
And my job is to get insurance companies to actually cover the risk. That's what I do.
And so, it's an amazing job you do, Tony.
And we have some very off the wall things that you just don't see every day.
Right.
And when it applies to you, I've never heard. It's just like the business overhead expense. You're in business for yourself.
Right.
All of our competitors only pay you to take care of your household. Your business is just gone, and we start by taking care of your business.
Right.
And so make sure that you understand when you have a claim. If you call somebody in the office and you don't like the answer, I'm not saying it wasn't the right answer, but you don't like it, call me.
Right.
And the one thing I can do is walk through these policies because most of them I've built. So I understand them almost inside and out. And I will take calls. I am on the phone a lot.
Right.
12,000 minutes a month last month.
Good
Holy
Lord.
smokes.
But I will return a call, and I will do it as promptly as I can.
Yeah, if you have to call Tony's cell and he does not answer, you'll find that his voicemail is full. He does call back.
The reason it's full is because you will leave things on my phone, and I average 50 to 100 phone calls a day.
Right.
Right. So I have to get up early in the morning to go through those calls. And if you would have left a change or something like that, and I didn't get to it for 24 hours,
right,
it will get me sued. So it's not that it's full; it's the quickest thing. It's just not set up. So
right.
Full is what it says.
Right.
But text me.
Yeah.
I can read texts while I'm on the phone.
Right. The man multitasks like no one you've ever seen before. Because when Jeff and I have meetings with him, he's doing 1,003 different things at one time. Mm-hmm. And he talks them all out loud, which is great because we're like, we don't even know what the hell he's talking about right now. So it's awesome. Hi, sunshine. Daughter just walked in. And so, yeah, it's an amazing education we get some days on the phone. But with that being said, those of you who have made it to the end of the show this week, I have my what I described as my super duper awesome sauce, ridiculously fantastic Fireworx Extravaganza at the end of the show, and I hope you all find the joy in it as I did making it. This will be fun, and if you don't like it, you can yell at me in person. I'll just call Jeff's cell phone, and he will take those calls, and he will send them right to me afterwards.
My cell phone is going into Do Not Disturb after this.
Tony, thank you so much for popping in here and talking all this wonderful stuff with us because Lord knows I don't understand half of it most of the time, and I need you to keep my brain working. Jeff, you got anything you want to throw on?
We just had a special guest, and I just wanted to...
Just throwing that out there.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Happy 4th, everyone. And I hope you enjoy my super duper awesome sauce Fireworx Extravaganza. We'll see you next Tuesday here at 6 p.m. Eastern on Contractor's Corner. You guys be safe. Happy 4th. We love you all. I say that willingly, and I mean it. You guys be careful. Take care of each other. Yeah, baby. And we're going to get out of here. Yes, sir. I hope you